All right, so watching John Wick, like when he takes out a whole room of bad guys with just a pencil, that doesn't make you an expert on how a movie was made. But hey, that's why we do these deep dives. I'm Hari, and I'm really excited to dig into this stuff with you today.
And I'm Kimi, ready to help separate the myth from the reality. Because we're going to uncover the behind the scenes magic that transformed what seems like a simple revenge flick into a full blown phenomenon. One that reignited Keanu Reeves' career and gave all of us a new appreciation for those expertly tailored suits.
Totally. We've got excerpts from these in-depth documents all about the making of the first John Wick film. And trust me, this isn't just some surface level stuff. We're talking about the kind of juicy details that reveal how this film, define all the odds to become the action masterpiece we know and love.
Exactly, and we'll start by going back to the very beginning with this struggling screenwriter named Derek Kolstad. He poured his heart and soul into this script that was initially called Scorn. It was a story about a retired hitman who's forced back into the world he thought he left behind. And what's so interesting is that Kolstad chose to use the death of John Wick's puppy as the catalyst for his revenge rampage, which was a pretty unconventional choice at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you usually see the dead wife or family member being the thing that drives these stories. So using a puppy was a bold move for sure.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be totally brilliant because it instantly created this sense of empathy and set the tone for the whole film. You mess with this guy's dog and you're going to have to face the consequences. And we all know those consequences are going to be epic.
Right. And it taps into that universal understanding of the bond between humans and their animals. It also cleverly avoids falling into a tired cliche. It gives us a fresh take on the classic revenge story. And this seemingly simple choice actually added layers of complexity to John Wick's character, because that puppy represented a glimmer of hope and a chance at healing after losing his wife.
And when they took that away from him, the antagonist basically destroyed his attempt to rebuild his life, pushing him back into the darkness he'd been trying to escape. Talk about adding fuel to the fire of vengeance. But the emotional core wasn't the only thing Kolstad nailed in those early drafts. He actually had the foresight to include elements that would become iconic hallmarks of the entire John Wick universe. Think about it. The Continental, those gold coins, the hints of a vast and intricate underworld. It was all there from the start.
It's true. He basically created a world that was so rich and intriguing that it begged to be expanded upon. And luckily, he found the perfect team to bring that vision to life. Enter Keanu Reeves, the man who would become synonymous with John Wick. But his involvement in the project wasn't a sure thing at first. In fact, the producer Basil Iwanek originally envisioned more seasoned actors like Clint Eastwood or Harrison Ford for the role.
Can you imagine? I mean, those guys are legends. But it's hard to picture anyone but Keanu as John Wick now. I guess you could say Keanu showing interest in the project was a game changer.
Absolutely. It completely shifted the dynamic and ultimately led to a casting decision that felt like it was meant to be. And what's really fascinating is that Reeves connected with John Wick's grief on a deeply personal level. Having experienced profound loss in his own life, he brought an authenticity and emotional depth to the role that went beyond just the physicality and action hero persona.
Yeah, there was this rawness to his performance that made John Wick instantly relatable, even though he was this legendary hitman. And it's almost like fate intervened again. When Reeves suggested Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, these two veteran stuntmen, to handle the action choreography for the film.
Their pitch was so impressive that they ended up getting offered the directing job for the entire film, which is a pretty incredible leap for two guys who had never directed a feature film before.
Talk about a Hollywood fairy tale. But with any ambitious project, especially in the film industry, this dream team faced some serious challenges, particularly when it came to the budget.
The financial hurdles were very real. Investors were pulling out, actors were deferring their fees. Even the costume designer had to rely on Iwanak's personal credit card to make ends meet. You can really see the passion and dedication that fueled this project even in those early uncertain days.
It's inspiring to see that level of commitment, especially when so many people would have just given up. But even with those tight financial constraints, there was one thing Iwanek refused to compromise on, and that was filming in New York City.
Yeah, it's easy to see why. The city's energy and that visual style are woven into the fabric of John Wick's world.
For sure, they knew they needed that authentic backdrop. To establish that unique underworld aesthetic, they were willing to fight for it, even if it meant making sacrifices elsewhere.
And sometimes those limitations lead to unexpected brilliance. because they had to use a single camera setup due to the budget constraints, and that actually became one of John Wick's most distinctive stylistic elements.
It's crazy how what seemed like a setback at first actually became a defining feature of the film. Those long, unbroken takes created this raw, immersive feeling that really set the action apart from like anything we'd seen before.
Yeah, it did. Those long takes required so much precision and coordination, not to mention some seriously impressive stunt work. And that gritty elegance extended beyond just the camera work. It influenced every aspect of the film's visual design, including the wardrobe, where sharp suits replaced the typical tactical gear you see in most action films.
It's like they took the phrase dress to kill, quite literally, creating this world of assassins who were as stylish as they were deadly. But it's not just about looking good. John Wick's fighting style, that blend of martial arts precision and deadly gunplay, is something else entirely.
Yeah, they call it gun fu. It's the seamless fusion of grappling throws and close quarters combat, with like incredibly fast and accurate shooting. The team they brought in to choreograph those scenes was amazing. Guys like J.J. Perry, a veteran of the Bourne films, and the Machado brothers, who are masters of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's just this crazy combination of practical fighting skills and cinematic flair that makes John Wick's actions so unique.
Oh yeah, you can totally see those influences in every fight sequence. It's like watching a brutal ballet, all the grace and precision of a choreographed dance, but with way more firepower. Speaking of influences, one of the things that makes John Wick so visually captivating is that unique blend of cinematic inspiration that you can see in everything from the framing to the editing style.
It really is like a cocktail of classic film noir Japanese samurai films. Leone's spaghetti westerns, Tarantino's stylized violence, even graphic novels. It's a film student's dream come true. They didn't limit themselves to just one genre or era, and I think that's part of what makes the film so fresh and exciting. It's familiar, but also totally new at the same time.
Right. It's like they took all these elements and like distilled them into something totally original. And let's be honest, we can't talk about John Wick without talking about those incredible action sequences. They're a testament to the dedication and talent of everyone involved, especially Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, the filming conditions were often brutal. Freezing cold nights, long hours, and like incredibly demanding physical stuff. But Keanu pushed through it all with this amazing sense of commitment and focus.
He even got sick during filming, but refused to slow down, which just shows you how much he believed in this project. There's this great story about the iconic nightclub scene where John unleashes his full fury on everyone. And it turns out that a lot of the choreography was actually improvised because of some last-minute changes they had to make.
And Keanu just adapted seamlessly, which is a real testament to his skill as a physical performer. He was able to maintain that intensity and precision even when things were changing all around him. And that really elevates the entire sequence. On top of that, they were really meticulous about keeping things realistic, even down to the bullets.
Yeah, they were super strict about adhering to actual magazine capacities. So if they added more enemies to a scene or adjusted the choreography, they had to account for the reloads and make sure everything was still grounded in reality.
It's that attention to detail, those little nods to practicality, that helps set John Wick apart from those action movies where characters just have endless ammo.
Yeah.
It adds a layer of believability that pulls you into the action.
Absolutely. But let's rewind for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine we're back at one of those early screenings before the film was released. Because the reception wasn't exactly what you'd call an instant blockbuster, was it?
Yeah, there was definitely some uncertainty in the air. Like, some people weren't sure if this unconventional revenge story would connect with a wider audience. You know, they had doubts about first-time directors. And Keanu's career hadn't been doing so hot, so there were doubts about if the film would succeed.
Right. It seems almost impossible to imagine now, considering what a phenomenon it became. But then something really interesting happened at one of the screenings. The audience burst out laughing during a scene with Vigo, the Russian mob boss, when he learns that his son did something really stupid, and he just says, "Oh."
It was this unexpected moment of humor. It kind of signaled a shift, like the audience was suddenly in on the joke, and they could enjoy this crazy world alongside the action and emotion.
Yeah, it was a sign that they connected with the film on different levels, and that's something the filmmakers really fought for. Even when they faced resistance, remember that whole puppy problem? Even the producer Basil Iwanek was worried about whether killing off the dog would backfire.
Yeah, I can see why he would hesitate. It was a risky move. But both Keanu and Derek Kolstad insisted that it was super important for John Wick's motivation and for the emotional weight of the story.
They really trusted their gut, and luckily the test screenings proved them right. The audience was all in on John's quest for revenge. It's amazing how sometimes the most unusual choices can end up being the best ones.
And we can't forget the music. It played a huge part in making this more than just your average action flick.
The score is so much more than just background noise. It goes perfectly with the action and the emotion. It adds so much intensity and depth to John Wick's character.
Right, you can hear it in the music, those haunting melodies underlining his sadness, and the driving rhythms during the fight scenes. There's so much to unpack. We could do a whole deep dive just on the score.
Totally, like that Kaleido track during that one scene. Well, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But did you know? There was a time when John Wick was almost a straight-to-video release.
Seriously?
Yeah. Industry insiders just weren't interested.
It's crazy to think about now. They saw first-time directors, a star whose last few movies hadn't been huge hits, and they just thought, straight to DVD.
They totally missed the mark.
Yeah, they did.
It's a good thing Lionsgate took a chance on John Wick.
Right. And the rest is history.
And it wasn't just dumb luck. They had a killer marketing campaign. They turned John Wick from a potential flop into this must-see movie. They knew people wanted something different, something stylish and exciting. And they totally nailed the marketing.
Yeah, those trailers and the early screenings at festivals, they got people so hyped up.
And they were smart to focus on Keanu Reeves. He's become such a beloved guy. People wanted to see him back in action.
Yeah.
And they definitely got what they wanted.
Absolutely. So what can we learn from all of this? I think it's a reminder that sometimes the simplest ideas, when they're done with passion and precision, and people are willing to take some risks, they can have a huge impact.
It shows that trusting your instincts is important, both in terms of your creative vision and the people you choose to work with. It can lead to amazing results. And it's also a testament to the power of a good revenge story, especially when it involves a dog and a guy with mad skills.
John Wick was more than just an action film. It was this perfectly crafted blend of different influences, a testament to the power of good collaboration. And it started a whole new chapter in Keanu's career.
We've really only scratched the surface here. The sequels go even deeper into that underworld. They explore themes of honor, consequences, the price of vengeance. There's a whole world of John Wick out there to discover.
So much to explore.
Here's something for you to think about. How do you think this film changed action movies? Did it raise the bar? Did it inspire a new wave of stylish, stunt-driven films? Or was it something else altogether? Let us know what you think. Until next time, keep diving deep.